Hello folk, how you doing? Scotty. As I mentioned in the previous video about today with social media, and of course how mainstream media can actually send out a wrong narrative and that, I feel that this is the same thing, and there's this video that I had been meaning to do a response on for a while now.
Basically, if Scotland wants to do something good, England says no.
Scotland is one of the most left-wing countries in the world.
The individuals for the United States, but he's went around asking the type of people that are like students and stuff like that, and then went into some sort of Dundee pub. They've got English accents and stuff like that. That's not to say that in Scotland you've not got those sort of people. Where is it that these countries like Australia, United States, Canada, where is it that they're going to get their narrative fae when it comes to everything in Scotland? These videos. The video has about 230 odd thousand views or something, I can't even remember, which tells you that there's been a lot of folk that have seen the video and they're going away and they're getting this particular narrative that they're thinking this is the way Scotland thinks. No, everybody in this country is a Marxist. There are a lot of folk out there who would surprise you, who are not in favour of everything that the SNP are pushing, and then you've got other folk, just ordinary people who go about their daily life and they work for a living, and even they can understand, you know, the issues today with taxation and everything like that.
Drawing headlines with one progressive law after another.
Similar processes for gender recognition and
crack down on so-called hate speech.
What's going on in Scotland where they're targeting comedians for hate crime laws?
We wanted to know why Scotland is so left-wing, so we visited Dundee, the country's pro-independence capital, and then travelled around the country.
I've no got anything against folk that want Scotland to separate from the United Kingdom. I've no got anything against them for that. I'm indifferent, in other words, towards the whole argument of whether Scotland remains part of the United Kingdom or no, because it's not going to change anything. You're not going to change the mess the economy is in. If folk continue on supporting what they're doing now, they're not going to fix the economy. It's just the reality of how things are, because of the fact that they're clinging on for dear life to this strangely mixed-based economy, and that's not going to avoid corporatism. It can't avoid corporatism, and it's unsustainable.
Only to learn that politics may soon break the UK apart.
The UK has committed probably the worst crimes in history.
Billions and billions went down to London. What do they do with it? They wasted on stupid wars.
Their narrative is always this one-sided particular view. Take, for argument's sake, slavery. They pretend like the white man was the evil person and, you know, it was all one-sided in history. He talks about all the evils of the United Kingdom, the evils of the British Empire. Is it any wonder why they're so racist towards white people? They really don't understand anything at all to do with history.
If I was asked about America, I'd say there's an extreme right-wing political party and then there's the Republicans.
Just to put this into perspective, just have a listen to what they speak about in terms of inflation.
Many Scots, though, like this group in a Dundee pub, believe more left-wing economics are the solution.
Scotland got independence. Scotland would have its own central bank and issue its own currency. It could never again run out of money. Same as America. It's got a central bank, issues its own currency, cannot run out of money.
You're going into a particular place, especially in Dundee, where these people have never touched an economics textbook in their life, and then using those particular individuals, and it completely ignores that people in Scotland, there are many like myself that exist, and he thinks along this modern monetary theory. I've been through all the, you know, posts and videos and stuff like that, PragerU or Turning Point USA. You won't believe the amount of people come out and say they're living in a capitalist system. Oh well, capitalism's not perfect, but it's the best system we've got. I'm thinking to myself, how can you say we've got when you're not even living in a capitalist system? You're not even anywhere near capitalism. There are a lot of folk out there who voted for the Reform Party. Now, it doesn't matter what the loudmouths turn around and tell you. They'll try and make it out as if they're the only voice and that they are the monopoly over everything today with Scotland, the Scottish saltire, everything. And you go back to that point on Emmanuel Macron and before him, and how when a 70% or 75% increase in taxation came around and then people rebelled against it. It's the same story. You'll actually find that even although a lot of people voted for SNP, there was ones there who argued for cutting taxes. Kate Forbes was someone that pleasantly surprised me, and she's someone, I think she was the business secretary at one point, and she apparently argued in favour of cutting taxes. Now what that tells you is the fact that within the SNP she was very quiet about all that. It's not until she actually began running to become First Minister, her views just did not align with that of your typical, Nicola Sturgeon, kind of the SNP. The kind that are all woke. Kate Forbes came across as somebody sensible. Certain folk didn't like that, but there were a lot of other Scottish nationalists, believe it or not. Those who voted SNP did agree with it. So what's that telling you? It's telling you that these lefties are trying to paint a narrative that they had a monopoly, that they are the voice. There's a lot of people who support the British Union, and there's a lot of folk who support Scottish independence who don't even subscribe to all that stuff today with all the transgenderism. In fact, they broke into division, and I wouldn't say it was riots, but protests and all sorts. It's actually the very reason why Nicola Sturgeon faced her downfall.
Scotland's heavily subsidised by London.
The Scottish government, and they're just squandering the money.
But first, we have to start in Dundee, which was the most pro-independence city in Scotland's 2014 referendum. Well, technically about independence.
Should Scotland be an independent country?
That vote was largely a left-right split, for reasons these people make clear.
Well, how would you say Scotland is different from England? Culturally, politically?
Politically, Scotland is a lot more left-leaning. In the best possible way. It's why Scotland really deserves independence, because the English government
You'll actually find that there's folk that go out and work for a living and they'll favour cutting taxes. You go to countries like the United States, for example, or a country like Canada, and it's the same story. The reason why a lot of folk will support things like the NHS, they were never taught the alternative. But does that mean to say that these type of people are out and out Marxists and they're in favour of, all the super high taxes and all the rest of it? They don't even understand what these Scandinavian countries are like.
Shut up, English person. I'm saying this as an English person. The English government keeps basically going fuck you to Scotland and stopping any of the more progressive laws they keep trying to pass and keeping them in a very right wing, I don't know the best, very conservative sort of situation, which has messed up pricings of things. It stops a lot of the trans healthcare. Basically, if Scotland wants to do something good, England says no.
When you talk about the soaring high prices, that was caused by all their state interference. Now, they don't like this. They do not. They absolutely despise this. And they've got such arrogance to think that they know more about socialism and economics than what Ludwig von Mises did. I'm not even going to go into that argument, but as Ludwig von Mises had argued, there was two parts of his definition of, socialism as a whole. And whilst we're not living in this full-blown socialist economy, we have a strongly mixed-based economy, what you do have is a private sector astronomically or regulated by the state, and it was through all that intervention costs to spiral way out of control.
One question we were asking, we're making a video asking 100 Brits about Trump.
Oh no, I don't have my quiver on me!
There's that smarmy laughing and everything. I mentioned Trump. Folk, I'm not even the biggest fan of Donald Trump. I'm intellectually superior to you. I'll laugh at you and make you out as if you're stupid. That's the sort of attitude that you get for these people. And is it any wonder why they get slated so much? It's that very narrow-minded attitude. They're not capable of coming up with an intellectual argument of actual criticism of Donald Trump. I can do it. For example, where's all this money coming for the so-called big beautiful bill? Well, let's face it, just like what Peter Schiff had pointed out, it's going to be paid for in the name of inflation. And Donald Trump also stated something about how he reduced inflation. Inflation is not the fall and reduction of prices. That is not inflation. But people like me are able to come up with a rational argument without hating somebody.
Depends if you don't mind getting demonetized or not.
Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take the hit.
We can boot some stuff out.
He's a fucking fascist.
Ask anyone on the street and they will tell you the exact same thing.
My co-workers tell me on a regular basis they wish he was shot.
Honestly, yeah. Get better aim, you guys. I thought you guys
For real.
Should have missed, what was it, the third time?
That's exactly the difference between someone who supports capitalism and that of a person who supports socialism. I don't wish death upon the people I disagree with. In the nature of a person who supports capitalism, we want the best for you. We want to see you better off, for you to be able to buy and get by for what you want and to have an affordable cost of living. That's exactly what we want, and that just tells you that you've not even got a moral compass.
Third time's the charm.
He's not popular.
What about Nigel Farage? And one thing we've been asking people is, if they're proud of British history.
No. God, no.
No.
We have... The UK has committed probably the worst crimes in history.
The awful crimes that under the British Empire, the greatest crime of all. No empire in history compares. What was the Roman Empire again? How to tell that they've never studied history in their life. This is what comes out these universities. They are so poorly educated. Do they even know what the African continent was like before the British Empire even showed up on their shores?
Like, on such a bigger scale and intensity than any other colonization that you could think of.
Look at the Middle East. Israel is the problem we've helped to create.
Yes.
Like, you don't get taught it in England a lot, but like, we ruined so much of the world with pure capital gain.
See, if you would ask a person like him, what does capital mean? I haven't got a clue.
And to steal all of their food and ingredients, and we stole so many spices, and English food is shit.
English food is shit. Everything English. Everything English is all shit. It's shit because it doesn't subscribe to my views. Well, if it's so shit then, why are all the people coming here to live then? How shit it must be.
We fucked up their countries enough.
Exactly.
They come here and chill out.
We've caused all of this fucking mess for everyone all over the world, and now we're complaining that they're coming here. We should be proud of the fact that people want to come to this country, because, I don't know why they do.
They're doing nothing wrong.
They're doing nothing wrong.
We need immigration to keep this country afloat. There's no point stopping these boats. We should give them safer routes in and help them have a healthy, safe life.
We have the houses. There are thousands of unoccupied homes and flats that are kept in a hoard by private landlords who use them as stocks to trade, and they just sit there unused. You can look around Dundee, go for a walk, see how many places are left empty.
They were the ones that caused the bottleneck of the housing market, and this is very similar, by the way, to other countries. They caused damage to the property market because they all regulated it. They imposed all the zonal laws, all the planning restrictions. So what happened? It created a bottleneck that ended up creating a shortage. They don't understand that a lot of these properties that are left empty and what have you, they've destroyed the incentive and forced many property developers at a loss. And then they wonder why they've got this crisis. In their view of the world of economics, they just think, oh well, the price went up, therefore that must mean greed. Because they've never ever studied prices to understand the laws of supply and demand. And the fact that they still can't put two and two together to understand scarcity exists. And it's the reason why there is no point even trying to reason with those type of people, because reason is gone. The fact that they reject the laws of supply and demand is very telling. It's as if to say that all hospitals are infinite in supply of hospital beds. As if to say school placements are infinite. As if to say houses are infinite.
The idea of blaming our housing crisis on immigration is absolutely wild to me, actually.
That says more about you
think
because
that
we've got an extra 10, 20 million people come in the country.
Do you think that if Do you think
So
that
do you
if
not
we...
think an extra 10 million people is going to have an effect on housing?
Do you think
in the
that if
UK?
we lock down our borders, we're going to solve the housing crisis?
Well,
is that going to solve
The thing is, the more people you have in a country, the more houses you're going to need. I know it might sound...
He's really good at explaining things like this, isn't he? Yeah.
Go for a walk, see how many places are left empty. We have the space for it. The government are just too scared to actually take that space and use it.
Yeah.
Those abandoned buildings he mentioned help explain why Dundee and much of Scotland are so left-wing.
We've got arguably one of the most beautiful countries on planet Earth. Folk like him, despite the fact Glasgow Airport is, the moment you go into Glasgow Airport, you've got all the boards and everything that show you promoting Scotland, and a lot of the theme is promoting all the nature and all the lochs and all the rest of it, you know. People like him would quite happily build housing or the tapia, but a lot of that land is for nature. Like the Cairngorms. You go to places like, you know, Glencoe or the Cairngorms or the Loch Lomond and Trossachs and that, and it's just unbelievable nature. People that would, you know, fall in love with it. The geography relative to Scotland, most of our land is untouched. Was he suggesting that we build all the top of that?
It was once an industrial powerhouse with many women working and lots of unions.
Dundee used to be one of the industrial hubs of the empire.
The jobs vanished, though, leaving a progressive population with many people reliant on government support.
I think a lot of it is due to, you know, the poverty in Dundee. No jobs, no prospects.
A lot of it's come down to the mainstream media again, the education system. You've got a lot of that to blame for it. Misunderstanding to do with economics and that. There are a lot of folk here in Scotland that would love to have business gone, that would love to have, you know, the cutting of taxes and regulation and stuff like that.
It goes back very, very far. There was these things called the Highland clearances, where a lot of Scottish land, the people that lived on it were cleared out by the English. So there's a lot of deep felt sentiment because of that.
It's like these English bastards. Every English person's a dirty, posh English bastard. The real world isn't like that in Scotland, and there's a lot of folk that English people will tell you who work in Scotland, they get on really well in this country. I'd like to believe that these type of people are a minority. More than 3/4 of the government forces that fought the Jacobites were Scottish. It was practically a civil war.
Scots view England as conservative, and many have defined their politics in opposition to England's.
Governed in London, basically by a political party that people in Scotland didn't vote for. We feel ourselves Scottish rather than British.
Scottish versus English, how are you guys different?
Well, again, in Scotland we've got our own history, our own culture, our own identity, as it were. It was the English that came up hundreds of years ago and invaded and then taught us to speak English. So we had to do what the English wanted us to do. So we still rebel against that.
They're all for redistribution of wealth and all this socialism, all against conservatism. But the moment you ask them the question, well, how much are you willing to redistribute of your own goods to share with the rest of everybody else then? And that is where the true nature of these people come in. They are not as anti-conservative as they like to make themselves out to be. Socialism up to the point until you ram them with high taxes.
But if you guys are saying through the printing of money, you can avoid that, then that essentially solves the problem.
As you said the other night, you got inflation.
Yeah.
That's how you deal with inflation. Because there's too much money floating around.
So then you tax it to take
brings it back in again.
Government spend, then tax.
If I was asked about America, I'd say there's an extreme right-wing political party, and then there's the Republicans. The Democrats are an extreme right-wing nationalistic party. England is a narrow, inward-looking, twisted country nowadays. You look at what England did, they fought foreigners. They spend their entire lives fighting foreign countries. Scotland only ever had to fight the English. The English Empire has gone, and they can't work out what to do.
Scotland was strangely complicit in everything that the British Empire did. Do these people honestly think when it came to the Revolutionary War in North America, Scots only fought in one side? to go across to North America, and then our people fought and colonised the entire American South. Our people fought on both sides. He's trying to paint a narrative about Scottish nationalism as, oh, we only fought the English. It just makes me want to cry. What's the education system done, man? I just thought I would get around to showing you that video to open your eyes. The world out there is a very different place for that of what you get online, what you get for mainstream media, what you get for on social media. If you were to ask many of those folk the importance of, you know, the private sector and of businesses, they would be strongly in support of it. Anyway, folk, I hope you've enjoyed my video, and if you've got anything you'd like to ask or say yourself, comment in the comment section below. And of course, thank you for watching. Cheers.